Would you like to learn how to add shading and detail to design to create more realistic embroidery? If so, then this is the course for you. This is an intermediate course that builds on your basic digitizing skills to learn simple techniques for adding highlights and shading to your embroidery designs. Let's take a quick look at this course. In Lesson 1, we'll go over the types of artwork and how to take advantage of each one. We'll also talk about how to interpret the image into embroidery. In Lesson 2, we'll talk about stitches and thread colors. We'll talk about how to blend with stitches, how to manipulate stitch properties for dimension, and we'll also talk about how to select colors that work well together. And we'll also cover avoiding color combinations that can clash. In Lesson 3, we start planning our design. I'm sure you've all heard the adage, plan your work, then work your plan. The same thing applies to digitizing. We'll talk about what to consider for optimal stitching, along with a visually pleasing sew out. We'll also cover considerations for stitch properties when layering for shading. In Lesson 4, we'll actually digitize the basic flower. Now, there are several approaches to digitizing with shading. We'll talk about one of them in this course. Talk about working your plan flexibly. We'll cover using and setting stitch properties and why objects need to overlap. Lesson 5 covers tips for shading. We'll start by looking at examples of different types of shading that are included in the design library. There are different ways to do shading and highlighting. We'll talk about where to place shading and highlighting and how to add detail when it isn't included in the artwork. In Lesson 6, we'll begin digitizing our shading. We'll talk about types of stitches and tips for optimizing efficiency. This course includes 6 lessons, the artwork files, some practice design files, and a finished tulip design. Now remember, this is a way, not the way. Digitizing is an opinion. There are many ways to achieve realism in a design. This one happens to be a good beginner way if you're just getting started. This course is included in the All Access area of the Hatch Academy. All Access is where you can expand on the basic skills you learned in the Hatch Tools classes.